Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is the 40k plus 1 tutorial. I'm going to be doing 10 more plus 40k, so it'll be 40k plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, all the way up to plus 10. And in celebration of reaching 10k Facebook likes, which I got when I got 40k YouTube subs. Anyway, this is the sound. It's not the most wonderful attempt of me attempting to make a sound from Canopy's Floating Point on Upscale Records. It was requested by Hoodieking, and I'll explain kind of my thought process and how this worked. And we'll sort of get to the root as to why it wasn't the best, but also how it just sort of happens, so that you can kind of take it and run with it and do your best. The sound is available in the description of this video, just the FLP for it, so like if you don't really care about my description, you can just go get it and look at it and do it yourself. I am actually using 3x oscillator. This is because I actually started out by using Harmor to try and do something Harmor specific, and I realized that what I was doing wasn't working, and I also realized that with what I'm doing post, I might as well just be using a sine wave. And then I thought, okay, cool, then I'll just use 3x oscillator. And I'm using 2 sine waves. One is detuned to give a kind of Reese effect. I'm running it through a chorus. Like, this is where people will normally kind of disable all the sounds to show you what they sound like before certain parts. However, a lot of the decisions I made about what I did with what sounds at what part of the signal chain were kind of made with the other things already on. So that's sort of an issue there. But essentially what I wanted to do, if you listen to the original sound, it's actually like the main sound in the track. Anyway, he plays a couple of bits by itself in the intro before the actual track drops. And I went about this in perhaps not the most sensible way, but if you listen to it, it's very, very plainly clear that it's there's a little bit of unison phase canceling business going on. And actually I can show you the spectrum of the track. If I just record this directly out of YouTube, you can tell because of the destroyed high frequency spectrum. But if you look at also what's left, you can see this little, this sort of activity in the high frequencies that's very indicative of phase canceling due to Reese. And so that's sort of my direction that I went. And then also when I played it through the EQ that I have after it, I saw a sort of a frequency spectrum activity that was also indicative of a square wave. And the square waves happen either just by having a square wave, or what's referred to as a pulse, or by distorting a sine wave a lot, and you get squares. Also in the original sound, this started off being low, like mostly low passed, but with a little high cracklies, and then it kind of opened up into having that high frequency activity. So that's why I went with the idea of having the low pass filter. And I also attempted to force the hand of distortion to create the cracklies on purpose, because I couldn't figure out a way to make it do the kind of like uncertain sort of procedural crackles. And this is just because I'm not that wonderful at filtering and distortion in such on purpose ways in this very particular style. Yeah, so what I have here is I have the last wave shaper. The other wave shapers are just very sharp, very static things to force the sine wave essentially to become a square wave. I put a reverb between 2 of them, and that also kind of gives a little bit of atmospheric crackle involved in there. Just as a kind of a textural thing. The chorus is also up at the beginning to give more sort of pitch uncertainty to the original sound. And also a little bit of stereo-ness too. What else was I talking about? So that's what the wave shaper is. This wave shaper, I have this little section here with the pulse waveform type engaged, which creates this lots of sharp edges in the wave shaper. And doing that, I'm automating the pre-gain. See, when it stays below that section, it's only kind of distorted. When it goes above that section, it creates much more high frequency information. So that's the point of that. That's what I did there. Yeah, that's what's up. I'll be doing 9 more of these. Not necessarily today. I'm streaming right now. If you are seeing this video new. Yeah, anyway, that was my attempt at the sound. It wasn't so wonderful, but I hope it helped you learn things and perhaps gave you a platform with which to create better stuff yourself. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Oh yeah, and the Reddit thread in which you can make a request, if you want to make a request, is in the description of this video. You can still make requests. People are still making requests. This one was actually the latest request from 21 hours ago before this started. I'm sure I'll get more. But if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.